Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, Baby J. Welcome to my spaceship. It's your girl, Jalen, the alien, the Zodiac Queen, whatever you want to call me. Welcome to my channel, and boopty 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 boop. It is Mercury Retrograde. So I thought, I need to make this video today and really speak upon this topic because this is something that a lot of people don't know. And before I get into it, the crystal of the day is blue calcite. Blue calcite is all about that throat chakra. And when Mercury's in retrograde, communication is going haywire. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing during this Mercury retrograde? How is it treating you? And if you have any Mercury retrograde friends, and y'all gonna see what I'm meaning in this video, so yeah, if you do, comment down below. Tell me how it's feeling. Tell me how it's going. Tell me how it's flowing. I want to know. I'm interested. Let's talk. Let's have it. Let's have some communication during this crazy communication. Like, really take some time to be introspective in the comment section, or even by yourself in a journal, whatever the case is. Mercury in astrology represents communication. It represents how you express yourself. It represents your logical thinking thought process. It represents how you learn and how you interpret and process information, and sometimes even technology and publishing and all that good old stuff. Sorry, my earring was attached to my hair and I don't know what's going on there. So yeah, but if you don't know something, here's what you gotta know. A lot of times, especially when people are new to astrology, they don't really recognize the different retrogrades that happen in your chart. If you were actually born during a specific retrograde, that planet is actually in retrograde in your specific chart, and that has a very symbolic and strong effect on the individual, especially when we're talking about personal planets here. We are definitely going to see a very large impact on the way that planet expresses itself and puts itself out there. And when it comes to Mercury, Mercury literally is how we express ourselves. It is how we communicate. It is how we share our thoughts. And when Mercury goes retrograde in society, what does everybody experience? Well, some signs more than others, but for the most part, we see problems in technology, we see problems in travel, we see problems with communication, people not really forming their words correctly, and people that are not really speaking effectively as they used to, or as they usually are. Because what Mercury is doing is really asking you to settle down and to meditate and to contemplate your life. Virgo is literally ruled by the Hermit card. The Hermit card in tarot is representative of sitting down, relaxing, and making sure to analyze, to look over things, to contemplate, to think about one's life, to explore the darkness with their lantern, and to discover things that they need to discover, to really internalize it and to go on this inner journey. So when Mercury is in retrograde in society, that's what this period of time is asking you to do. However, if you were born during a Mercury retrograde, this has a symbolic effect on you all the time, not just during Mercury retrograde season, which happens about 4 or 3 times a year. So it roughly affects about 25% of the population who have Mercury retrograde in their chart. What's happening is Mercury is affecting you 2 times, and you have double the amount of Mercury in your chart. And I have displacement as well. When Mercury, or any planet rather, is in retrograde, what it really means is it appears to be moving backwards in the sky. And this is all an illusion. It's not actually moving backwards at all. It does have an effect on us because the planets always connect with us. We are part of the cosmos. It's literally like all depending on the perspective that we had from Earth and how we're perceiving things from Earth's perspective, because Mercury is actually closer to the sun than Earth. So when that happens, when Mercury is revolving around the sun, it appears sometimes when it's on the other side, it appears to be moving backwards because it's just rotating around certain times of the year. Let's say that the people of Earth are representative of a car. As the Earth car, there's a car on the side of us, right? That's Mercury. You know how your car could be stationary. However, the other car is moving, or it appears to be moving, but actually you're just moving. It's all depending on the perspective that you have. Mercury retrograde is a perspective that has a symbolic effect on human beings. And if you were born during a Mercury retrograde, all you have to do to check out if any of your planets are in retrograde is if you look at your chart and you will see a letter R next to that specific placement. And when you see that letter R with a little X, what that really means and indicates your Mercury is in retrograde, or whatever planet that you have is in retrograde. Like I said before, what does a Mercury retrograde period look like? A Mercury retrograde period looks like people being kind of forced to be introspective because everything around them is going a little haywire and chaotic. They're automatically forced to look within for a little bit and to really contemplate, and that's what you're supposed to do during a Mercury retrograde period. However, if you were born during a Mercury retrograde, here's what's going on with you. A lot of the times people in Mercury retrograde, these are people who have trouble really communicating how they really feel and their thoughts. As a Mercury retrograde person, I go through this as well. I feel like I never quite hit the nail on the mark when it comes to what I'm trying to communicate with you guys. Sometimes it is difficult for me to really process exactly what I'm trying to say, and a lot of times you can often feel misunderstood because maybe the messages that you are communicating aren't quite reaching exactly what you want to process and put out there. Mercury moves so fast. Mercury moves really fast. Earth is actually 2 times or 3 times slower than Mercury. We are on planet Earth, so we're going at Earth's speed and Earth's perspective. We're forced to. However, when you have a Mercury retrograde in your chart, Mercury is still moving fast as well. Okay, actually Mercury is moving 2 times as fast. So this is an individual that is highly intelligent. Highly intelligent, whether you know it or not, because maybe you were misunderstood when you were a kid. Maybe you were in class and you didn't fully get what the teacher was saying, or maybe you never really felt like you can communicate your words correctly. Maybe you had a speech impediment. Maybe you had a stutter. Maybe you had a learning disability like dyslexia or something like that. Maybe you have ADHD, whatever the case is. I get you. What's really happening here is you actually have a higher intellect than most people around you. But when you're channeling this higher intellect and it's moving really fast, sometimes it's hard to correctly process that information in this earthly plane because Earth is a little bit slower. The people around you are not going to get what you're saying all the time, because this is also the individual that can have an insane intellect but not quite be able to process it in a way that mere mortals or the people around you, they can't always perceive it. With Mercury moving like this, you have double Mercury energy. So what you really have to practice doing is being able to communicate your words in a way that other people can understand, because as a Mercury retrograde person, you're going to be the type of person that is able to see things from a different way. You're able to have a different perspective on things. This is inventive, innovative type energy. This is the energy that is truly creative. You have the gift of creation. You are naturally a more right brain thinker, so that means you are very artistic. You're very creative. You view things in a different way than other people are used to. You can invent things. You can communicate ideas that are insane, that are people like, how did you even come up with that? It's because you have your Mercury in retrograde, and you might have other retrograde planets as well. The other thing you have to worry about with this placement, sometimes you can be more prone to anxiety, because with Mercury constantly going and your brain is constantly thinking and you're constantly over-analyzing and stuff like that, you could be prone to anxiety. I experience this as well. I can have a lot of anxiety if I'm not careful and like not in my meditative space, and you don't have a correct way to really channel this energy. Maybe if you don't have a project that you can channel this high amount of energy into. And also if your Mercury is conjunct the sun, because and that happens pretty often because Mercury is close to the sun, check your aspects. If your Mercury is also conjunct the sun and you have a Mercury retrograde like I do, you have a lot of mental activity. You have a very high amount of intelligence to work with. What you really need to be careful is to really communicate this in a way. You have to act like you're a translator. You have to be the translator. For people to understand where you're coming from, you have to really know how to translate what you're saying in a way that people can truly get it. Because this is intelligence. This is genius level energy, okay? And I know I got this placement, but I'm not Sison. I've seen it. People that have this way of thinking, think outside of the box. All you gotta do is practice really communicating. Practice with your throat chakra, okay? Practice putting your throat chakra out there, and you may even realize when everybody around you is kind of freaking out and is like not able to communicate the words and they're like stumbling and stuff is happening, you actually might find that during a Mercury retrograde period, your Mercury actually might be in direct. So it's actually like you can communicate better during a Mercury retrograde period, or worse, depending on who you are. But that's what I noticed, because right now Mercury's in retrograde and I just feel like I'm zooming. I feel like I'm just, I can just communicate so much better, and I look around me and I see people like fumbling. I'm like, oh, trust me, I get it, honey, trust, I get it. Also, on the more karmic and symbolic level of this placement, what this definitely indicates is that you had a past life probably in the most recent one or many past lives, where you were suppressed. Your voice was suppressed. Your voice was suppressed and it just wasn't heard. So you could have been growing up and you could have been extremely shy. You could have grown up and you felt like you couldn't really truly express yourself for some reason. Even if nothing really happened, for some reason there's this thing within inside you that's like, I cannot communicate my thoughts. I can't talk. I can't speak. You were scared of speaking. Maybe you have a fear, but that means in a past life you actually were suppressed. For some reason you were not allowed to talk. You were not allowed to communicate. You were not allowed to speak your truth. Okay, you were not allowed to communicate with other people for some reason. Maybe you were locked up. Maybe you were in an abusive situation. In this lifetime, you have a karmic destiny to kind of deal with this energy in an effective way, which is communicating and practicing with your throat chakra and really aligning that with your heart and speaking your mind and learning how to gather confidence in order to really process information in a correct way and translate it in a way so that people can know what you're saying. And we need to know what you're saying because you are a genius. Okay, you are a genius. If you look at the root word of genius, guess what genius means? It's the man and the woman and the woman and the man, the masculine and the feminine energies coming together, balance. When you learn how to balance this energy that you have, you can really channel this effectively and create some dope ass shit. And that's what you basically have to do in this lifetime. When I was a kid, I couldn't read at the age where you're supposed to be able to read. And I was kind of bullied and I kind of felt bad about myself because I couldn't quite get it. When I was in normal classroom settings, I couldn't quite interpret the information for some reason. It just didn't work. You know, I always never quite got it. And I even went to a doctor and they told me and my family that I wouldn't be able to read until I was 12. But my dad snatched me up and said, no, that's not what my daughter's doing. He sat me down and I remember for 6 months, I practiced one-on-one with my father every single day. Redundancy is the key, and by the end of those 6 months I was able to read and write better than half of the students in my classroom. And it was almost artistic writing as well. I used to love writing poetry. I loved writing different type of things that was unusual at the time period than the people around me. So what I'm trying to tell you is redundancy is going to be key. This is also the type of energy where you could be the person that likes to look over things again and again and again to really truly get it. This whole social system and school and stuff is built for people that think the same. We only really appreciate one side of the equation, the logical way of thinking, but you are artistic, you are creative, and you are logical at the same time. So put this together and you can really make magic happen, but you have to believe in yourself and be on your own time. If it takes you longer, then take longer. If you need to ask more questions, ask more questions. If you need to communicate with your teacher more, then do that. If you have this thing where you say like all these big words and people cannot process what you're saying because they're like, oh my god, you're saying all these big words, what does that even mean? And then people look at you like you're uppity or something. But really it's because you are just operating on a higher octave when it comes to that intelligence. So you just need to understand and learn how to be the translator, and you can utilize this energy to your benefit. You can truly be this creative individual. Mercury retrograde is not a bad thing. It just makes you naturally more introspective. You are naturally introspective. You are naturally this type of human being that thinks about all types of possibilities, what you did in the past and what you did in the future. When you have Mercury retrograde in your chart, you are not the type of person that thinks in a very like linear way. Time is weird for you. Time gets weird. Time is a construct, okay? You understand that if you have Mercury retrograde. You think in a very outside the box type of way. So you need to embrace that about yourself. When you're thinking and communicating, when you're talking to this type of person that has Mercury retrograde, this is a person that is thinking in the past, in the future, and the present at the same time. Because when Mercury is going backwards, you're thinking about past situations that have to do with this conversation, as well as the present because you're talking to somebody, as well as thinking about what they're going to say in the future all at once. That's why sometimes when you speak, sometimes you can miss a couple words. Maybe if you're texting something, you've realized that you missed like half the words because you already said it in your head and you thought you said it out loud. That type of stuff happens when you have Mercury retrograde. But guess what? You are in good company. You got Prince, you got Lady Gaga, you got legends that got Mercury retrograde. I think also Steve Jobs, if I'm not incorrect, Steve Jobs also has Mercury retrograde. You are an outside of the box thinker. That guy Prince, he plays 100 different instruments. You have this very artistic creativity. So if Mercury's in retrograde and you're thinking about going crazy with Mercury retrograde, you got Mercury retrograde in your chart, just relax. Realize that it's okay, and realize that you just think differently. It doesn't mean you're negative. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean you need to be quiet. Speak your voice. Speak your truth. Keep on working on it. Keep on putting yourself out there and become more confident in yourself and your speech and the way that you talk, so that the whole world can utilize this energy and that you can go out there, create amazing things, and it's going to be great. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. It's your girl, baby J. The Jayla, the alien, the Zodiac Queen, whatever you want to call me. Yes, 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 yes. If you want a $20 birth chart reading, make sure you slide in my DMs on Instagram or email me. And it's going to be a great time. It's going to be an amazing time. All right now. Mwah.